Hello and welcome to the next episode of our podcast series. Today we have Jess Gallagher and Rebekah Rich joining us. So welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Yes. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves, Rebekah?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Rebekah Rich. I am 20. I live here in Fredericton right now. I live with my parents and two of my three siblings. I was born in Kentville, Nova Scotia, and we moved around a little bit there when I was younger, and then we moved here to Fredericton when I was in elementary school. I was here for the whole elementary school, and then we moved away to Heartland for the 3 years of middle school, which was an interesting time. And then back to Fredericton for my high school years, and as well as me going to NBCCD, Craft College, and UNB, which is the year that I just finished up in just general arts for my BAA is what I'm going for that.
Oh, wow. So how many houses is that in total that you've lived in?
I know we've moved like 7 or 8 times in my life. My dad has definitely moved quite a bit more than that, but in our short time, yeah.
For your short life, yeah.
Yeah.
And Jess, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Exact opposite of Rebekah. I was born and raised just in Fredericton, stayed in the same childhood home. And yeah, as a kid, I was just kind of involved in all the sports, dance. I was artistic. I loved musical theater. But then, like, as I got older, I just kind of settled down into my own kind of groove. Like, in school, I was really involved in school. And now I'm in university studying nursing, going into my 4th year. So pretty sedentary in Fredericton. But we'll see after I graduate where God takes me, if it's outside of Fredericton or still in home, but we'll see.
Awesome. Yeah. And tell us a little bit about how you became a Christian.
Yeah, so I became a Christian when I was quite young. I was like our first time living in Fredericton, so I was in elementary school. I don't necessarily remember too much of it. I remember like a few key moments when I was younger, just like going outside, and I grew up in a Christian family, so I had heard all this stuff. We went to church every Sunday. We had gone to tons of churches throughout my childhood, all of them very different and very unique, and some of them very old, but yeah, and I just remember as a kid just experiencing a few different things and like definitely feeling God with me, and of course like our parents would pray with us, and I remember there was a few times when I would just go outside and like look around, and there was this one night which I feel is close enough to the time when I became a Christian where I just like looked at the stars in like the winter time and I was like, this is beautiful. Like clearly someone has like made this and made it so perfect and so awesome, and I was just so grateful and glad. And I was baptized when I was in grade 5 at Killarney Lake here in Fredericton. Cool. And then I've been a summer camp leader ever since, and helping other kids obviously learn about God, and that's leading up to here, where we're doing a little something different, working for the church, which is super awesome. And I'm very excited to see how things go in my faith and in our work here as well.
That's good. Great. Thank you, Rebekah. How about you, Jess?
Again, exact opposite of Rebekah. Maybe that's why we're such a good team. But did not grow up in a home that was like a Christian home. But all through my childhood, my story is very much like just a sweet story of God pursuing me even when I was a child. Like, for example, when I was in grade 4, I had my best friend who did grow up in like a really strong Christian family that went to church and really valued that, and she would invite me to like her kids program stuff, summer camp at her church, like Sunday school, vacation Bible study stuff, and I loved being there, learning about God, loved learning about God. So I always knew that, like, God existed, but I never knew that, like, you know, you could know him or, like, have a relationship with him. But I didn't become a Christian, like, formally, I guess, until I went to camp when I was in middle school, and then I became a Christian there. But then again, my relationship with Jesus didn't really start growing until when I was like in grade 9, grade 10, going through high school, and then when I became staff at the summer camp that I became a Christian at. And then it's just been growing ever since. I got baptized when I was in grade 12 or 11 at the camp that I became a Christian and grew as a Christian. Then I'm here.
Amazing. That's so cool. And so currently you guys are working for Christ Central for 8 weeks?
Something like that.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about what you're spending your time doing.
So we've got tons of stuff that we've been up to. We've already been in it for, a few weeks. I did a little bit of cleaning of the warehouse in the early days, which was very, actually quite exciting to just do a little bit of work and get dirty and whatnot. And then our latest project coming up, which I'm very excited for, is the Retro Boogie Dance Party, which is just like a super awesome disco dance. Like, invite everyone that you know and come and have a super fun time. So we've been planning the decorations and the food and the songs, of course, and we're super excited for that. We've also been put in charge of the variety show for our church weekend away, which is exciting as well. We will be trying to have another fun time and just including people and making sure.
Do you get to perform yourselves as well?
We'll see. Maybe potentially. We're gonna we'll see how things work out, how many acts we get. And then again with the weekend away, we are going to be helping it with the kids programs, so planning what kind of stuff they're going to be doing and helping them have a super fun time there.
Wow.
Yeah. And then another huge part of our role is like absorbing our youth program and just taking that on and leading it, so which is Fuel, our youth group. So in that we're running our youth groups that we have on Saturday nights, and just taking that on completely, planning it, organizing it, running it, and then we're also planning OneCon, so we'll be kind of the point people for OneCon, so that's really exciting. There was another thing I forget.
Sounds like a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. Sometimes it just gets all...
The great thing is that it's not like, you have all these relationships with people already, don't you? Because you're already being involved with the youth, in so many different areas of the church.
I think that definitely made it, easier for us to, take on this role. Because we weren't, we were just some outsiders that had to, integrate ourselves. Yeah. Like, Jess was already, a small group leader, and, we'd already been doing all this stuff, and we had, tons of experience with, camp and all this. So it's quite an interesting job, but it fits really well.
I mean, you're both very natural in it seems. It's a great skill set. Is there, anything specific that you're really looking forward to, that you really like?
Personally, I am very, very excited to do some dancing this Saturday at the Retro Boogie Dance Party, of course. Very excited to just have a super awesome time and get to meet some new people, because I've heard that there's quite a few people that we don't know that are coming, which will be very exciting. Good. So I'm definitely excited for that.
Yeah. For me, I think I'm most excited about leading OneCon. I've been to OneCon as a student, never been as a leader yet. So when I went as a student, I just saw God move in huge ways. So I'm anticipating great things. So I'm really excited for that.
And this is the first time in quite a few years that it's back to now.
Yes.
A proper 2-day conference overnight.
Yeah. So it should be good.
Yeah. That's fun. Lots happening. Is there any kind of areas that you're, specific challenges that you feel like you're facing at this time in your lives?
Yeah, definitely. I am a very busy person. I take on, throughout the school year, I have multiple jobs and, of course, schooling, and I do lots and lots of sports throughout the years, and so definitely something that I struggle with is, I love doing all these things, but it's also very tough on my schedule and with my stress and, navigating, getting all the places, and along with that is, fitting in time for things that aren't necessarily, in my schedule, even just, spending time with God or spending time with friends has been, quite difficult over the past few years, just, having all these things, and then I get home late and have to go to bed and wake up the next morning and, work out and just do all these, things that are just, it's just a lot.
Right.
So, yeah, that's definitely been tricky these past few years, and it's still a work in progress.
But that's, that is a new thing, isn't it? Kind of navigating your own time, isn't it? From being in school to suddenly university, and you have choices and you can choose when you do things.
Yeah.
To a certain extent.
You can choose if you want to do
them.
Yeah,
right. And you haven't got your parents who know this is happening right now. And so it's definitely that kind of tension between, figuring out your own schedule and what works.
Yeah.
And obviously time to do schoolwork. Occasionally.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can see that's... It's great to have all those interests.
Yes.
But yeah.
And it definitely makes me happy because I enjoy doing all these things, and I know that I would be sad if I just sat home and laid in bed, but it's definitely gets me tired a lot of days, and then it kind of causes sometimes tension in the home because if I'm particularly frustrated, then
Like a sudden crash.
Yeah.
So figuring out what to say no to and
Oof, yeah.
What about you, Jess?
Yeah, for me, I think a big struggle, like, in early adulthood would be comparison, because people are at such different phases in their life.
Yeah.
Like, someone could be having, like, their second child in their early adulthood,
Right.
or even in, like, their late 20s,
Yeah.
and another person in their 20s could just be trying to get through university.
Right.
So it's, like, very different phases of life. So I think it's a struggle to not compare yourself to another person's story. Or even, like, within early adulthood, like, getting older, you're kind of transitioning from, like, obviously teenager into, like, a full adult. And in that transition, you're seeing your family in a new lens that you haven't before. Like, when you're a kid, your mother's, like, a super hero, like, invincible, can solve any problem. And then going through early adulthood, it's like, my parents are people.
Yeah.
Like, they're also people, they have flaws, and, like, they're also just trying to get through the same problems I'm also trying to get through.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's really a really good point, because you know, like you say, like, you can compare yourself to somebody, well, they can do this, this, and this, you know, and I'm just trying to get from A to B and be okay with that. And we just don't know what other people are going through, do we? So it's kind of, you know, and obviously then you throw social media and all those kind of things that gives you ridiculous access to people that you wouldn't have had years ago.
Yes.
That kind of navigating all of that, isn't it? So,
People that you're not supposed to know.
Yeah.
Really, but you do.
Right.
Yeah.
and is it real life anyway? Or,
Exactly.
Yeah. So you kind of talked about, you know, juggling your time, spending time with God, you know, trying to fit that in. How do you navigate that? Like, how does your faith help you?
Yeah, it's definitely something that I'm still working on and that I'm still, like, working towards. And I think that it's...
You'll never get there, by the way.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. Good to know. But yeah, it's definitely good to be honest, have, like, talks. Like, I love, like, sitting down and having chats about, like, the issues that I'm facing. And definitely through that, it's like, reassuring to know that I don't necessarily need to see someone to talk to them, like having God to just, like, unload all my problems when I know that, you know, when I know that I don't have limited time, or even doing that, like, on the car ride to school, or on the bike to school, or doing all those little, like, things that you know, are going from one thing to the other when I feel like I don't have a lot of time in my schedule. So definitely just, like, being open, being honest, having conversations with people, making sure that, you know, I do set aside time for God, which is, like, super important. And definitely something that I still need to work on, of course, is but yeah, just, like, being very aware of what's happening, aware that you know, if time is, like, sweeping through and I'm, like, going through the motions of all these different things, so just trying to talk about it, open myself up, and definitely talk about it with God particularly.
I think even being aware of it is, like, almost the first, you know, step in terms of, like, figuring things out, you know, and knowing that it's important to have that time with God in terms to grow as a Christian. And that's good. How about you, Jess? How do you kind of navigate that?
Yeah, I'm always brought back to the verse Jeremiah 29:11, like, God knows the plans that he has, and they're plans to prosper us, and that promise a future and a hope. So I think in the terms of comparison, where you could compare yourself to someone where, like, oh, I'm here, but they're here, I want to be further in my story than I am. Or it could be the opposite, like, I feel like I'm going through this too fast, like, I need to slow down. But I think a big, like, combat to that is just trusting that God knows the plans and you're exactly where you need to be. So yeah, I think that's how I combat that as well. Yeah.
Good. Thank you guys so much. Is there any other little nuggets you want to throw out there?
Come to the Retro Boogie Dance.
I don't know when this goes out.
It could be done.
Hope you had a good time.
Yeah.
Thank you both so much. Love what you're doing here for these, like, weeks, but you know, just love that you're part of the church and just the blessing that you are. So thank you guys. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.